Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is part 2 of the Liquitex Basics acrylic paint review. So today I'm painting an apple on these really cheap canvas boards that I got from my local grocery store. They're nothing special, but I primed them with 3 coats of clear acrylic gesso. Then I put in the basic layers with a very thin wash using cadmium red deep hue, and then for the leaves, hooker's green, hue permanent, primary yellow, and titanium white. And the background is a bright aqua green, a little white, a little blue, ultramarine blue, and a little of the green. So these paints are pretty thick. If you are used to more student grade paints, like the Michaels brand, you definitely want to figure out the right ratio of water to use, or you can get a mixing medium. So I used water for everything in this painting, and it worked out okay. I definitely had to work in different layers, as you'll see, so that's something to know. By the way, if you are interested in seeing the full-length, real-time, unedited version of this painting, it will be up on my Patreon for my $10 patrons. I haven't really promoted my Patreon much, but that's just because I wanted to make sure that the content that I was providing was up to snuff. So if you're interested in supporting me, the link is in the description below, and be sure to check it out. Make sure you're subscribed too if you haven't already done that. So now I am going over the leaves with a darker mix of that green and yellow. And I'm using the end of my paintbrush to just scratch in where the leaf veins are. And then I tried to put in where that little dimple is for the core, but I ended up painting over that pretty quick. So the apple reference that I was using had some green in it, so I'm using the same hooker's green and titanium white and primary yellow to make kind of this pale Granny Smith green color. And then I didn't like the shadow lines that I had put in on that first layer of, or the second layer of red, so I went over it again. I'm putting in some of that yellow that I was seeing too. I wanted a variation of yellow and red, and I'm using actually like a makeup blending brush to blend that out, just barely touching the surface. It works really well actually, so I recommend checking those kind of brushes out if you're struggling with blending. Some of the blending brushes that you can get for actual painting they can be expensive, and I've heard that the bristles fall out a lot. These makeup brushes work really well, so definitely a thought. So now I'm going over the leaves again, and I put another coat of red just to cover up that dark line that I put in. More yellow, more blending, and I actually really like how that ended up coming out. And then a darker layer over the leaves to put in the veins on the rest of the leaves. So this painting actually didn't take me that long. I did it over a few different sessions, just because I've got a lot of other stuff that I'm doing. But the more I worked with this paint, the more I really liked it. I'd actually painted this particular reference a few different times, once on sketch pad paper and once on another of these same canvases, and it did not come out very well. It took me a while to kind of get used to the thickness of the paint and how to work with it. Now, it has been quite a while for me. I originally learned how to paint with oils, and then I switched to acrylics, and I used acrylics for a lot of my high school years. I actually went to art school for high school, so that was interesting. But I used acrylic for many years, and my memory makes me feel like it was second nature. Maybe it was the paints I was using. I don't even remember what brand paints I was using, but I don't remember having to fiddle with the water ratio as much as I am now. And I think a lot of that is just that I've become so used to working with watercolors, and I've got to transition my brain back because this medium is quite different. Now, you can use it like watercolors and water it down a lot and get kind of that translucent effect. Just know that, you know, your layers are not going to move and they dry so fast. And that is one thing that I really enjoy about oil paints, that you can use them and blend as you go, and depending on what you're doing, it can be a benefit or not, right? So with acrylics, at least, something, if you make a mistake, you know, you can let it dry and paint right over it. And that's kind of what I did here. So when I went in to do the second layer of the background, I refined the shape of that apple to give it that bump that goes underneath, and just made it more apple shaped than a round circle. And I do really like that about acrylics, but I feel like the drying time makes it really difficult to blend. You can really blend nicely with oils, and you can work with them for a long time, but they're so expensive, and you need, you know, really open air space where you have a lot of ventilation and all kinds of chemicals to thin it out. You know, it's not an easy medium, and it's really expensive. So acrylics are a nice alternative, and I have to say, these paints, the colors are super vibrant. They are very smooth if you get the right water ratio. I am considering getting a mixing medium. I'm going to actually get the Liquitex Acrylic Matte Flow medium, because I think that will work out a lot better than the water. I'll have to let you know what I think of that once it comes in. But overall, I'm really pleased, and I definitely want to work with them more. I've got a bunch of canvases laying around that I can use, and actually I use these on my mixed media, my Canson mixed media pad, and it worked wonderfully. It was great. It didn't like soak through the paper at all, so I was really happy with that too. So back to painting, I used the unbleached white to put in those little freckles, and a paper towel to just sort of soften it out. And then on the leaves, I'm using the Hooker's Green Hue Permanent and Ultramarine Blue to make like a dark green that I'm using to just refine those little vein areas and put in shadows along the edges where I felt like they should be. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you are interested in seeing the full-length version, check out my Patreon. Let me know what you think, and thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. See you next time. Bye.